Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us live virtually in the Heart and Hustle studio here from my home in my kitchen. Really great to be on here. We're live right now, actually, on Facebook, on Twitter, and our YouTube. And so I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you so much for joining us today from your home, your office, wherever you're at. I also hope that all of you are staying healthy and safe. Before we begin our monthly live chat, I do want to begin our virtual session with a land acknowledgement before we begin. To the original people of this land, the Nisenan people, the Southern Maidu, Valley and Plains Miwok, Patwin and Wintu's peoples, and the people of Wilton Rancheria, Sacramento's only federally recognized tribe, may we acknowledge and honor the Native people who came before us and still walk beside us today on these ancestral lands by choosing to gather today in the active practice of acknowledgement and appreciation for Sacramento's Indigenous peoples, history, contributions, and lives. Again, thank you so much for joining us today for our monthly live chat. I'm super excited for this month's live chat. Happy Asian American and Pacific Islander History Month to each and every one of you. I also do want to share that Sacramento, our city, is home to over 530,000 residents, which 20% of our residents actually comprise of Asian American, Pacific Islander, Native Hawaiians, and over 6,000 businesses actually in our city are AAPI owned. And so just really honored this month to have the opportunity to really center, celebrate, and recognize our incredible, diverse, beautiful community, but really using our monthly chat this month for some of y'all to meet some of the great organizations on the ground serving our Asian American and Pacific Islander community. As we close out AAPI History Month this week, our team really did want to take this opportunity again to just center some of our amazing grassroots organization that you'll get to meet today. Some of these organizations as well, they were rewarded state funds, and you'll learn a little bit more about that as part of our NorCal Stop the Hate Collaborative. And you see a few of them on here today. You'll get to learn a little bit more about who they are and their work. And so we'll just jump right in. So what I'd like to do first is maybe go around and do introduction. I'll call you by your name. If you can introduce yourself, your organization, your background, preferred pronouns, but most importantly, how are you celebrating Asian American Pacific Islander History Month? We will start with Gao Yi.
Hello, good morning, almost good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kao Yi Tao. My preferred gender pronouns are she, her, and I work as the Director of Policy and Partnerships for Hmong Innovating Politics, commonly known as HIP. And a little bit about HIP, our mission is to advance social justice and build the power of our Hmong and Southeast Asian American youth and families. And we do this through leadership development and community organizing. We serve the Sacramento and Fresno region. A little bit about myself. I was born and raised here in Sacramento. And again, just really grateful to be part of this conversation today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gao Yi. Nilda.
Thanks, Councilmember Vang. Nilda Valmores, outgoing executive director of My Sister's House. My Sister's House is a nonprofit that has helped victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and human trafficking from Sacramento and the greater Central Valley region for more than 20 years. A little bit, I guess, about myself is that I've lived in Sacramento County for more than 30 years now.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nilda. Meta.
Hi, everyone. My name is Meta Zhang. I am the Director for Health and Social Services at Hmong Youth and Parents United. I'm a first-generation Hmong woman in Sacramento with pronouns for she and her. A little bit more about HIPU is that we're a nonprofit organization located in North Sacramento. We service the youth, seniors, and local communities that are around us.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Meta. And Singh.
Hi, this is Seng. My name is Seng, the director of the Hmong Culture Center here in Butte County. With the organization have been here for a little bit over 20 some years, and we have been serving the community in Butte County and North States over 20 years. And we pretty much focus on for the whole family. You will have the elderly program. We also have the youth program. It was a family program 0 to 5 program as well. And little bit about me, I have been came from as a refugee from the Thailand, from Thailand to Orwell, and have been lived Orwell since about 30 some plus year.
Awesome. Thank you, Sang, so much for sharing. So, my first question, well, thank you so much for that introduction. Is just before we jump into the NorCal Collaborative, wanted to ask each and every one of you, given it is the last week of AAPI History Month, but wanted to ask all of you, how are you celebrating AAPI History Month? We'll start with Nelda.
So we started the month with a celebration in front of my sister's house treasures, where we invited, it had different entertainment from different cultural community groups. So that was really fun way to start. Midway through the month, we we celebrated our 20th anniversary of my sister's house at our gala. And then on a more serious note, we did acknowledge that in thanks to a council member, Gara, we did a talk on domestic violence along with other domestic violence local community advocates and trying to address that. So
Thanks, Nelda. Meta?
Yeah, so we celebrated AAPI History Month by being proactive and going out to show our support for other AAPI organizations. This was through events, resharing posts on social media, and participating in hosting events of our own, as well as recognizing trailblazers in the AAPI community. We also kicked off our summer night markets in support of local small AAPI businesses to just really come out and show our support for these small businesses as well as organizations.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Meta. Sang?
Well, I'll start with the month we, do as pretty much other. We also outreach to other APPI community and organization in Big County, and we also, coming to work where our customs, come here to work, and we also share the foods that we have, and we also have an event on the 18th, May 18th, that's for the elderly. Also, it's an API as and the mental health month as well. And we did that for the elderly. And when they came here, there were their customs here to show the community that they who they are. So that's what we do. And also, the Hmong Cultural Center will have the radio with the African American Cultural Center. When I talk to the radio, so I share, the months with the community as well.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sang. And Gao Yi, how is HIP celebrating AAPI History Month? How are you celebrating it this month?
Yeah, I mean, this month was so much things going on, and I think where we could celebrate and find joy with each other as much as we could, that was what our hope is, what our hope was for our community. And so we're really happy that mid-month of May we were able to celebrate our community through an event that we co-led with Hmong Youth and Parents United, Hey Meta, and La Familia Counseling Center. And this brought over 300 community members in the South Sac area. And so our hope is that this is actually going to become an annual event, and that we will actually recognize Hmong American Day locally and also statewide. And also, HIP has been celebrating by building the political power of our community members. It is very close to the primary election, and so we're reaching out to community members, making sure that they are aware and making their voice heard during this month. So that's what we've been doing to celebrate.
Thanks. Thanks so much, Gao Yi. And to all of you and the great work that you're doing in your organization to really uplift and center our API families all year around. Really, really appreciate all the great work that you are all doing. I think Gao Yi talked a little bit about, us spending time together and really celebrating our joy, right? What is it that makes us happy? And that's being with family and community. We also know the past couple of years during the pandemic, it's been incredibly hard on our Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander community, in particular, the rise in anti-Asian hate that we saw in the past couple of months and the past couple of years during the pandemic. As all of you know, early last year, our Sacramento City Council passed a resolution to really condemn and combat against racism, xenophobia, and really just hate against Asian American Pacific Islander. And so we did establish this resolution, and it really laid the groundwork for 3 regional convenings that we held in partnership with 3 other council members who partnered with us. A series of anti-Asian hate convenings that was actually, I would say, co-developed with community-based organizations on the ground, how we can educate our community and really ensure that we get dollars to those who need it most. I do want to share with all of you that we did hold these convenings. One, they were really a space for education, highlighting some of the work that we know, but also really acknowledging the systemic racism impacting Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islander residents. And then also really sharing the efforts that's already happening on the ground, right? That's been happening on the ground to address anti-Asian hate, and then discussing the gaps. What I do want to share is that from those convenings, I would actually say community-based organization on this call really led the effort to create the NorCal Stop the Hate Collaborative. And the folks that you actually see online right now are part of this collaborative. And also, I'm proud to say, an awardee of state funds to really continue the incredible work that they're doing. And so what I want to do is kind of pause really quick and ask all of you a little bit about just the work that your organizations have been doing to really address holistically anti-Asian hate, and how you have seen yourself involved with this collaborative, and what efforts has been happening. And you all know best, because you are our eyes and ears on the ground doing this work with our families, and would love to hear a little bit more about what you all plan to do in terms of the services that you have been providing and will continue to provide. So with that, maybe I'll start with Gao Yi first, because HIP kind of helps spearheaded some of the coordination for the collaborative. So I'll start with Gao Yi.
Thank you, Councilmember Vang. When I think of this question, I just think about, with HIP, we've always been about meeting our community members where they're at. And when the pandemic happened and we had a spike in anti-Asian hate, we knew that we had to pivot to really support with the COVID-19 outreach and education work, as well as provide healing spaces for our young people, our community members. And so an extension of that work through this RFA, we're really excited because it gives us an opportunity to continue to create an environment and climate of healing for our young people, and also to provide intentional support for our LGBTQIA plus community members. And so we're excited that we're going to be hosting more peer healing circles, peer support groups, and workshops for our young people, because I think something we also realize is that for our young people to become the most authentic versions of themselves, they need to have a sense of belonging. And I think that's really about what this month was about, was celebrating ourselves, making space for us to belong and to believe that we can. And that's an environment, and that is the hope that we are trying to create with our young people. And again, grateful that through this RFA, we get a chance to expand that work.
Awesome. Super, super excited about the work that y'all will have done and will continue to do. Thank you so much, Gao Yi. Sang, share a little bit about the work that you all have been doing, and congratulations on receiving funds from the state as well. Super excited for your organization.
Thank you, Council Wang. Here in Bibb County, with the I'm sure a little bit about the elderly program that we have here in Bibb County. With the COVID-19, our elderly with the 2 years that have been stay home, they don't have the chance to go. And with that, and just beginning of this year, regulation of they keep coming back to the organization, it seems like we have quite a lot of number of the elderly who walking with the cane, and that's something that we would like to coming back and to throw the cane away, because we do not want to walk with the cane as before the COVID-19. And we have a lot of issue with the elderly. With as you know, our elderly doesn't have the technology background, and which they do not have a chance to working with have the technology that would you talk to their relative, their friend, or staff or something like that on Facebook or you something like that, and they are pretty much stay alone and with themselves at home or with the family for the past 2 years. But we got some state grant from the state that which we educate the elderly, which to educate them when with the COVID plus also have them try to educate with the technology so that they can use the device to communicate with their family and their friends or anyone that they can do, and which they can see even though they could not go visit, but they can see face to face, and that is have been going on for the last couple months, and it's go slowly with our elderly, but it's we quite and get number plus number, so every number is going up, so that's something that we have doing here. And also with the COVID-19, our elderly and the community is pretty afraid to go outside, even though they have a park, they have a recreation in the community, but we haven't have a case in Butte County, but we do know that there are lots of cases surrounding, and also cases in the that we know of the other states, and we really educate our elderly and our family in Butte County that try to stay home, because the COVID, and plus because they hate that the community is happening in the community, that, and we also educate them that making sure when the sun is down, making sure your door, your window, everything is closed, and make sure it's locked. And Hmong Cultural Center also have a number that in case they have anything emergency, you can call the Hmong Cultural number that our warm line number, which they can call us 24 hours, that we will have someone that who will pick the phone, and also to help them, to assist them. So that's what we have been done during the pandemic with the last 2 years, and hopefully this is what coming down, and our community will continue to do what we have done in the past.
Thanks, Sang. Really appreciate you sharing the information and the services that you provide for our seniors. I know Gao Yi shared a lot about what we've been doing to really help build the pipeline of young folks. But I think also when we think about the pandemic, I know that many of our youth, but especially our elders, are very isolated, right? And at the fact that you are all working with our elders to make sure that they understand how to use technology and really reconnect with loved ones, that's so important. And I actually see that as a really holistic approach when we talk about addressing anti-Asian hate, right? It's really about the holistic approach of making sure that, we create the conditions for our elders and our youth to fully thrive. And that also means technology access, right? That means making sure that they get the services they need in order to thrive. And so just really appreciate the work that y'all have been doing and the work that you will continue to do to serve our elders. Nelda, what about y'all? I know it's been busy at my sister's house during the pandemic, also with the rise of anti-Asian hate, or something that we know it's not new in our communities. But if you can share a little bit about the work that y'all have been doing at my sister's house, that would be great.
Thanks, Councilmember Vang. But first, I want to start off and say, do just a big shout out of thanks to you for taking the lead and bringing all the groups together, because that was so important, I think, for us to be successful in securing the funds to continue to do the work and the services that my sister's house provides, and I'm sure the other groups too, and especially towards addressing the hate incidents. And the reason why my sister's house is involved is that I'm not sure that folks realize that 60 to 80% of the incidents involving hate incidents involving Asian folks have impacted Asian women. The direct victims have been Asian Pacific Islander women. And so that's why my sister's house has been involved. From the day after the Atlanta shootings training, we did a press conference, which you were part of. And we've been continuing to make sure that people remember that this is an issue largely affecting Asian women, and we believe it connects to the whole issue of gender violence and gender violence against Asian women, and making so part of our funds will be used to making sure that there are services provided, and then also making sure that we continue to educate our different communities, because we know that it's so hard for our Asian community members to let others know that they have a problem, whether it's being a victim or that they're from a stranger or being victimized from somebody at home. There's We have to make sure we set up the information so that people know where to go for help, how to get help, and feel comfortable receiving the help. And so then we can truly begin to heal and to thrive as individuals and as a community. So that's a little bit of the Stop the Hate work that my sister's house will be doing. And thank you for your help in leading and making it happen.
Thanks, Nelda. Like I was saying with the groups, it's just when I talk to folks in the community is that it's not like these programs are new. It's like you all have been doing this work and continue to do this work, but it's also making sure that we equip you with the resources to continue to expand the work because the need is so dire, right? And so I'm just so proud of this collaborative. I'm just really proud of all the great work that all of you are doing. Meta, share with us a little bit about Haifu and the work that y'all are doing, y'all will be doing with this, the state funds that you'll receive as part of this collaborative. Please do share with us. I know Haifu has so many amazing programs, so I don't even know where you're going to start, but definitely do share with the public about what y'all have been up to.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. We have so many programs that we are currently doing. So we do focus on the youths, the seniors, and the community members. When the pandemic hit, it was really important for us to be able to, address culturally appropriate services and not be tone deaf to, hey, we do have Asian resources that they don't necessarily get the correct resources. So when I joined the team, I was actually one of the resource coordinators. And, what I learned through that was, we provide food and meals, to the community. However, there's a lot of Asian families out there who don't eat, certain foods that are being provided. And so we went out of our way to just say, hey, let's go ahead and connect with our local businesses, see what we can do, see if we can provide food vouchers, at the Asian stores where they are more comfortable eating, these certain meals, and being able to provide translation services, being a trusted resources, by providing correct news, keeping them updated. And so whenever they did have questions, we're really, 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 really active on our social media. So we do get messages through Facebook, we get emails. And so it's really important for us to be able to address these right away and keep our doors open, to have someone there who's able to help translate. We do our best to really find what the root cause is, and often it stems from a lack of knowledge and lack of exposure, of our culture. So for us, we wanted to be able to take the proactive approach to talk about our culture and share who we are and where we came from. And it's important that we continue this conversation to our youths as well as to community members to show appreciation to our culture and educate others about our culture. And it's really important to make sure that for our next generation, for them to appreciate where they came from, to know a little bit more history. And so that's part of the direction that we want to go into, very similar to Cal Yi and HIP, and really being able to continue the education by hosting cultural experience exhibits, as well as workshops, cohorts available to the community and through healing circles as well. So healing circles was something that our team was really passionate about continuing. And this year has been really successful for us to host these healing circles. And this is something we want to be able to continue to do and involve our seniors from our programs into helping us create these exhibits, right? These are the stories that our seniors are passing down to our generation in, creating artwork, being able to create experiences and letting us know a little bit more about their history for us to be able to combine the two.
Thanks, Meta. I'm going to jump around a little bit because I think you spoke. I mean, as we're celebrating API Heritage, I call it Heritage/History Month. I think a big part of that, obviously, because we are in the work every day, is also to kind of pause and reflect on our community and how far we've come, and how far we still need to go. I want to ask all of you, why do you think it's important to actually have an AAPI Heritage/History Month? Why? What's the significance for you? Um, let's start with Gao Yi.
Wow. I think for me, I think back to again, like when COVID-19 hit, and in the resources that were being distributed, the API representation really wasn't there. The API voice wasn't there. And so I think that representation is so important when it comes to when I think of the AAPI Heritage Month. Um, I think of also that AAPI is such a huge umbrella. It's such a diverse umbrella. And oftentimes we are lumped together as an Asian American group. And as part of this month, it's so important that we also celebrate everyone's unique history and culture within this month too. So to me, I think I what's really resonating with me is representation and celebration.
Awesome. Thanks, Gao Yi. Nilda, what about you?
So you're asking a little personal question, so I'm going to go personal then.
Yeah.
I often, often I think when I have had slurs against me because of my ethnicity, it's usually like, when are you going home? And even when I was in grad school, it was, when are you going home? And in spite of the fact that my father served in the military, served in, World War. And so it's very insulting, right? To be a Navy brat and to be asked that question of, when are you going home? And I think that there's a lot of that to behind the anti-Asian hate, or hate against any immigrant, regardless whether they're Asian or whatever people that they are. Right? It's like, you don't belong here. And so I think that AAPI Heritage Month is trying to acknowledge that we do belong here. We do bring wonderful things to our communities, not just our cultural community, but to our greater American community. And it's trying to foster that celebration and that acknowledgement of what that means.
Awesome. So beautifully said, Nilda. Absolutely. Saying, what about you?
Well, I think that this month it's make for myself is making me happier because it's something that I recognize myself and the community that we serve, or each culture that we live in the community. So when we have this kind of the months or dedication, sometimes they to individual or to community or to the group. To each culture or something like that. That is really appreciated. That we been part of the community, even though we do know that there are still something in the community need to be fixed, but we are part of the community, recognized by the state, by the local, and by the federal, that this is our month, this is us, and I think that should make we are proud ourselves that who we are, but we do know that there are many things that we need to work. We need to work and we need to move forward. But that's something that we can share openly. I don't really. I wear among close to a store to shopping, and that who recognize who I am, and many other customer or many other employee ask me, "Oh, I like your clothes," and who make that from, and something like that. So this is something that I think that each individual or each community should do more to appear in the community, so that the community at large can recognize this month it is us to do something that the community as a whole to recognize that this is months, and this is to recognize our culture and the Asia culture. All the Asian we have a lot of Asia groups coming to this country, and we should do something. For example, like the Saints, they always have their 造火手到后呢, and go shopping and something like that. And for the mom, I think it might be good that we can do something like that. Example of the Thai parliaments, Keng Yang, who came to the United States here, and also consulting you with him and his wife and a couple of the community member, and you put that into the Facebook. We saw that. That's so glad that we see all those things, and then it's something that we should recognize. And when you go anywhere, you should have something that represent yourself. That this is who I am. This is who I am. So I think that is really great. Really a few countries that will be able to do something like that. For example, we have been in Southeast Asia for many years. Many of the Southeast Asian country or the government, they don't recognize the minority group. So I think this is something that appreciate for the government of this country. But we do know that there are so many things that we need to go forward, and we need to look forward to work with.
Absolutely. Beautifully said, Sing. You're absolutely right. A big part of it is celebrating our legacy, our history, but also our culture, right? And you're absolutely right. I only wear Hmong clothes during Hmong New Year. And this month I was just rocking Hmong clothes wherever I was going to community events. Like I should always be rocking my Hmong clothes, not just in May, but every month, right? Because every month is AAPI History Month. So thank you so much for sharing that. Meta, what about you? Share a little bit about just for you. Why is it important for you that we have AAPI History Month?
Yeah, so very similar story to Kao Yi. Growing up, there wasn't really Asian representation, and I think now it's really great to see a lot of businesses, right? They really do incorporate diversity, and Asian culture is actually really important as well because we are a part of American history. And so it's important that we have AAPI History Month because in a diverse country, it's more important now than ever to unite and connect with one another through education and knowledge. There are some form of appreciation, but through these small appreciations, it doesn't allow us to really share and educate who we really are. And so learning about other cultures is what makes up who we are as a nation. Just like learning history and other important figures in America, it's also important to learn about the ones who look different and maybe they were immigrants, but they didn't make their history, but they made their history and mark here in America. And so then therefore it becomes American history. And that's something that's really important to really diversify and teach to our younger generation as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you so much, Meta, for sharing that. I actually want to ask all of you, right? I really appreciate you all sharing why this month is important and significant for you. For the folks who are watching right now who are non-AAPI, non-Asian American, Native Hawaiian Pacific Islanders, what's your advice for them in terms of how can they participate respectfully in AAPI History Month, and what's some of the best way for them to really support the work that you are all doing? So this is me asking you as someone who's watching this live, who's not Asian American, who doesn't identify as Asian American, Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander, how would you encourage them to celebrate with us? How would you encourage them to really support the work that you all are doing? So with that, I'll start with Nilda.
There are many ways that I think that people can celebrate and join in the celebration on a fun way. Of course, come join in the different community fiestas and activities. This Sunday is the Philippine Fiesta in off Florin, and so that would be great for people to come join. But there are other, obviously supporting our different organizations is also really wonderful ways to learn about. We're constantly at my sister's house sharing tidbits of cultural information for folks, whether they're Asian or not Asian. On a practical level, I think supporting to making sure that there are translators and interpreters, and also that that culturally responsive services are provided our folks that may have problems accessing and are underserved by different levels, different and continuing to struggle in our community would be important. So that's what I would start off with.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nelda. I'm going to sum that up. I think I have like buckets of like ways in which folks can definitely celebrate, support, and uplift Asian American Pacific Islanders. So I will make sure to repeat some of the stuff that you just said. Calgi, what about you? How can other folks stay engaged and involved?
Wow, I don't know if I have much to add based on what Nelda said because that was just excellent. I think Nelda really touched on the language equity piece, and at least for the Hmong community, that is still such an area of need when it comes to language equity within the city, the county, as well as the state. And so I would definitely say that is an area of need and would be an area of support for our Asian American and Pacific Islander community. And again, this theme of learning. As an AAPI community, we have so much unique stories and history, and I think taking an opportunity to learn about our history when you can, attend events when you can, um, would be um, would be great. And also, I think and I'm talking from a personal way in the sense that um, I can own my story and I can own my voice, and I never want anyone else to do that for me. And so when you can uplift and encourage other folks in the Asian American Pacific Islander community to use their voice, that is also a gesture of allyship and solidarity too.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gao Yi, for sharing all that. I'm just taking notes. So I'm going to repeat some of these to remind folks ways in which that you heard from the panelists, how you can stay involved and engage, not just this month, but I would actually argue all year around, right? So saying, what about you? How can folks participate, non-Asian American Pacific Island? What advice do you have for them?
Well, I think that might be good if try to pay attention and try to stay closer. I have not much thing to say, but as Helga and Goyi already mentioned earlier. But to add to that, every organization and every community will have events, and we would like the community to come to our events, and you will learn something from the events, culture, custom, and also the language and something like that. So we really want you to come to learn us from our organization. The organization, for example, Women Culture Center is open from 8 to 5, and you can stop at any time to talk to the staff, to talk to me, or to come here. And like a girl you mentioned, they will share the story because that's the story was owned by that individual, and that individual will share his or her story, and that is his or her story that was shared through you, and you will know. And then when we able to share each other and to support each other, that might be great, because we do know that at the organization level, at the city county level, we do need help. We do not have the language as something that it's culturally competent, which we need. This is to help our community, because without the language of the community, those community like our Asia community, pretty much we are underserved community in the community, and believe or not, but when the mainstream community is doing pretty well, but one of the Asia community doing not well, then the whole community not doing well. So I'm pretty. I would like everybody to learn from each other and to share.
Absolutely, saying yes, yes, yes. Attending events, holding space, listening and learning about our histories, um, doing your own research. There's so much information out there, right? And being involved and engaged in that way is one way you can definitely support the AAPI community. Thank you so much for sharing. Meta, what about you?
Yeah, so for myself, I think right now with social media being at an all-time high, everyone's using social media. When something goes well, it goes well. When something doesn't really go well in the news, there's a lot of backlash. And so I think that this has really caused a lot of people to be more cautious. But even through some of the backlash, I would say, continue to learn and don't be reactive. Just taking it as a learning lesson and acknowledging your lack of knowledge and continue to always do better and be better. What they say is carry over the same energy, right? Really being able to address like, hey, I don't know. Just being vulnerable and just saying, hey, I don't know too much about this culture. I don't really know how I can support. And it's okay. We are here to really, connect with you. We love being able to share about our culture. We love being able to share about our history and just being able to show support, coming out to AAPI events, connecting with AAPI organizations, and celebrating AAPI month through education and by spreading awareness, learning about culture a little bit more. And even if it's just sharing a post on social media, I think that these are small things that you can do to really participate respectfully in AAPI History Month, because it's really about spreading who we are, really celebrating who we are, and having that representation of our culture.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Meta. Nilda, I think you wanted to add something else too, right?
Yeah, I wanted to share a great story that I think just fits in with a theme. Um, a Girl Scout mother a few months ago, or maybe more than a few months ago, was at the Capitol, and as she left the Capitol, some guy told her, when are you going home? And those aren't just words; those are like, as a woman, like that has that, you get fearful of your own physical safety too, right? So anyway, so she was so bothered. She had this discussion with her daughter, a Girl Scout, and then the Girl Scout said, "Well, we got to do something, Mom. What can we do about this? How can we teach people to love our and like our different Asian Pacific Islander culture?" And then the daughter came up with this concept of sharing books, right? Because books, you can learn a great way about culture. And so anyway, the Girl Scouts troop created a little book library for my sister's house that's sitting in front of my sister's cafe, filled with books by Asian authors or about Asian history, Asian culture. So I invite you all to come to my sister's cafe at 455 Capitol Mall. Check out the books. Bring in a book if you want to, and learn more about our Asian Pacific Islander culture.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Nelda. I do want to highlight a few that all four of you mentioned, and I want to reiterate it because I think it's really important. And we're asking about how can non-Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander really engage immersely fully in this month and all year round. I think what I heard some common next steps is one, support the AAPI orgs on the ground doing this work and really centering our families, right? I would actually even go as far as, volunteer for the organization, donate if you have some cash to spare, right? Every dollar goes a long way. And so I would encourage you all to volunteer, to donate to the organizations that you see today that's on here virtually. Someone also, I think it was Meta, that talked about, really utilizing your social media, right? That you all have your own page. You could reshare, retweet, reshare something from an organization, a local AAPI business. That's one way to really center and support the work that's happening on the ground. You heard this from Singh as well, is making sure that if you have time, show up to community events, right? There's always lots of great community forums and events, cultural events that are happening. Really take that opportunity to show up, learn, and listen. That would be really great. And then one big piece, especially me as a policymaker, is really advancing policy. And even if you're not an elected official like myself, I always talk about making sure we organize outside to make sure that electeds, that you hold them accountable to push policies that really will help our families. And so Gao Yi and Nelda and Singh and Meta talked all about this, around the language access and equity piece, right? And so there are also things in terms of writing to your local elected officials and making sure that our services can really serve the diverse needs of our community. So these are some ways that non-AAPI folks can really participate, uplift, center, and really be part of the movement. So I just wanted to reiterate some of that. I thought those are really, really great, and really want to thank the panelists for sharing that. we are getting close to time, and I do have one more question left for all of you. Is that I think today we talked a lot about just the rise in anti-Asian hate. We also talked about heritage, culture, and history. And when I think about that, I reflect a lot about just the decades of struggles that our communities has endured to get in this to be in this moment. I think about our triumphs as well, right, and our contributions, our legacy, and Gao Yi said this best, our joy, right? It's all of that, right? It's celebrating everything that's a part of us. My last question for each and every one of you is that if there is one thing that you want people to know about the AAPI community or about your own community, what would it be? What is one thing that you would like to share as folks are watching this and we are ending the week AAPI month? What is one thing that you want folks to know about you and to know about our AAPI community? I will start with Meta.
Yeah, so I think that one big thing I want people to know about our community is that we represent culture, and we are very culture rich, and there's a lot of history within who we are and what we do that allows us to relate and connect with others. And through the telling of our story and getting to know us a little bit more about who we are, we're able to build that connection. And building connection goes a long way, and it just really allows us to have that appreciation, where you're able to take our story and spread it as well. And so I think that that's the one big thing that I want people to know about our community.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Meta. Nilda?
So I guess the one thing that may not be so happy is that that I think that our community unfortunately has a history that's filled with a lot of gender violence, which still continues with the current hate status that we live in. On a good note, though, I would say that one good thing about our community is that I think that we bring different leadership styles to the greater community, which I think can be very effective. And we have really great potential future leaders, future and present leaders that are part of our community that the greater world needs to take advantage of.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nilda. Sing?
Well, when you think about this country, often we say the United States. So this is a United States together. So to be able to live together, we should unite it. We should not to divide it. No matter what, you are black, you are white, you are green or brown or something like that. We should unite it to be able to live together. So this is I want to say that our culture is really Asia is really a culture community which we are family oriented. We're not individuals. We should unite it so we can stay together.
Thank you much. Thank you so much, Sing. You're absolutely right. We do have this idea of collectivism, right? Family and community. That's really huge in many, if not all, Asian American, Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander communities. And last but not least, Gao Yi. What is one thing that you would like to share with folks who are watching? One thing you would like to share about what this month, what this month means to you, or something about, one thing you want folks to know about the API community or your own community?
One thing I would love folks to know about the AAPI community, two words that come to mind is power and hope. Our AAPI community is one of the largest, fast-growing communities in the nation, and our voting has power. And we will continue to advocate for what our community needs, but not just for our community, but for all of our communities. But not only that, I think of hope. I think of what Nelville said about our young leaders. In my work with HIP and seeing other folks like me who are learning about their community, learning about themselves, I see so much hope in their aspirations and their dreams for community. And I'm just happy to say that I know that there are a lot of young folks that do want to make meaningful and positive change in the community. And it makes me really hopeful for our future.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gao Yi. So glad we closed it out with you. I love your energy and just really sharing those last words with everyone who's tuned in today. I just want to take this moment to say happy Asian American Pacific Islander Month to each and every one of you on the panel and those who are tuned in. Thank you so much again for just sharing your insight and sharing just the work that all of you have been doing to really center and uplift our Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander communities. Just a few last comments before we log off. I do definitely want to share. Again, I am Councilwoman Mai Vang. If there's anything that you need from the city of Sacramento, please do reach out to our council office. You can call me at 916-808-7708, or you can email us at district8@thecityofsacramento.org. You can also follow us on social media as well. My handle is the same on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. It's CM Mai Vang. So make sure to follow us there. And then also, I just wanted to take this opportunity again to thank all of the CBOs as well that participated. Oh, Ryan, I just missed that. Could you put that back up as well? I also hold office weekly office hours. So if you need to meet with your council member, you want to speak with me, please do sign up at heartandhustle.org/office. And if you can't make those office hours, we'll make sure to schedule off hours outside of that as well. And then lastly, I think that's it. Oh, one last thing I did want to share is that earlier we were talking about ways in which folks can help really celebrate AAPIs, support them all year round. One is like donating to organization who's on the ground doing work. I do want to share that my team will be sharing website links to contribute to the 4 organization that you heard from today. That is one way that we could really expand the great work that they're doing, so that we can ensure that all our families are thriving. And so I just wanted to share that again. And I think that's it. We will be hosting another live chat next month in the Heart and Hustle studio. But until then, I'm just sending y'all lots of love, lots of healing. Have a great week, everyone. And thank you so much to our amazing panelists for coming today. And happy Asian American Pacific Islander Month to all of you. Take care, everyone.